Live. So today, I didn't mention this is an open stream, but it is an open stream, and basically I'm gonna run it until like probably when EBN goes live, and then I'll cut out when EBN goes live, and maybe before that, like if I get hungry. So basically, it depends. Like if I order dinner and dinner is like ready early, then yeah, I mean, or delivered early, then I'll do that. And so anyway, just making some adjustments, and we're gonna go to the YouTube studio, get the chat up on screen. For anybody watching on the replay, please consider subscribing if you like any of what you're seeing right now, or, if you want to see if you like this content, subscribe so you get notifications. Definitely two things today. I'm doing a little bit of testing, and in particular, naturally, I like to have the YouTube chat up on the screen, but I always have to like toggle it on every time. So like something that I really got to get in the habit of remembering to do is like hitting all of the buttons like before I start the stream, so that when I switch to like, see right there, it's already up the chat in my corner. So if I play Nintendo right now, you'll be able to see the chat. So that's good actually. And then if I show you my messy desk, yeah, okay, good. The chat is up there too. So, yeah, here, see, right there, you can see it, So that's good actually. That's partially, more streamlined already. The other stumbling point when I start a stream is the Rumble side of things, right? And I believe, yeah, okay, I'm live on Rumble right now, so that's working. But getting the chat up on screen now, let's see here. I got a couple of ideas for the chat, and we're gonna experiment with that right now. So it's like basically a, like I said, I'm not misrepresenting completely. It is a pregame because there are multiple people running shows today that are, in the so-called Saturday lineup. And that would be, friends at Echo Base Network. That would be my friends at Snowdub Music and Entertainment. And so today I decided to pipe it through the Restream Studio instead of the way I normally do it, because that would enable me to share out a link. It should be noted that Restream is having a a Black Friday sale, and I get paid that day, so it's like makes the decision-making process a little bit easier for that. But last year I partially regret not getting the like the higher grade plan with Restream, because one of the things that I guess that a holy grail for quality streaming on my end is the ability to have 1080p at 60 frames per second, like during a live stream. And from what I can figure, there's like a couple of ways I can achieve that. And one of those ways is simply to like, I don't know, like there's a couple ways. I just know that sometimes if I restream, if I go through the, like sort of like when you go to StreamYard in your web browser versus directly from OBS, and there's a couple ways to skin a cat when doing that. So I forget which one does which, but if I go to my own YouTube video right now, I could probably, see a little bit more, right, about what I want to see. So let's do a test right now. Let's do a little science in the name of internet streaming and in the name of science. We're going to check my own stream and see what happens here. And wait, whoops, wrong button. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So anyway, am I 1080p? Am I 60 frames? So okay, this makes sense. So I know what's happening here. So we're streaming through Restream Studio, i.e. through the web browser, right? And so I'm using OBS Virtual Camera. And so that's why I'm not getting more than 720p. That's perfectly fine. It's just, that's the fact of life right now. And I definitely see some compression. This is why for the past few weeks, I've been streaming directly through OBS instead of going through Restream Studio, because even at full 720p, the compression artifacts are absolutely like shite. Like And the only reason I'm doing it through Studio right now is so that I can invite people on. So I mean, I'll put it in. I guess I'll put it in the chat. Does the link become invalid after I use it? Well, we'll wait till people pop up in the stream. In the meantime, I want to do something else actually. So I just noticed that I got double YouTube chat on my right screen. Oh, because I'm opening up YouTube. Oh yeah, look at that. The chat, which I'm a little confused as to why the chat would be like shuffled a little lower. Shouldn't it line up perfectly? You know, like shouldn't, maybe I'm not thinking this through. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just, you know, kind of talking to myself right now. But, you know, obviously the chat you see in the top left corner here, I don't see it on my real screen, but it's obviously here in my real screen in the video. But why would it? I don't know why that confuses me. Anyway, whatever. Not a big deal. Because what we want to do now is we want to do the same thing, but we want to do it for Rumble. And so we're going to literally, in the OBS window, we're going to duplicate it. We're going to go and might as well show you. Switch. So basically, we took YouTube chat, we hit copy, and we're going to paste a duplicate as opposed to reference. And we're going to immediately rename this one to Rumble chat, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the Rumble chat. And even though nobody shows up on Rumble lately, I want to get into the habit of streaming on Rumble. So now we're going to activate our filters. Now, this is where things differ, because actually before we can activate our filters or change them, we need to change the display window. So I have Rumble chat in its own, you know, in its own chat window, in its own window, basically. So I need to find that one. And it is one of the Chrome, that looks like it. Yeah, that's it right there. So that's the Rumble chat. It's right now, it's just an ugly box on the left, and we're going to move it to the right like that. And then we're going to make some adjustments. We're going to, you know, turn on the, we're going to basically turn on or off all of the respective filters that we're seeing here in order to get rid of the white background. It's one issue I do have with using the Rumble chat. See, when you do YouTube Studio chat, as you know, we got Pop Culture Mechanic, we got the Padawannabe, you know, like you guys are like, you know, basically that window has a black window background. That window has a black background. So doing the color key, which is similar to chroma key, was a real breeze, and you can see it doesn't really clash. Like it works. So am I doing this right? Yeah, I'm still in studio mode. But this now, we got to do something about this. So we're going to do a test. This is a test. You don't need to equalize it. Your voice is perfect the way it is. Me, on the other hand, people during a stream last week said I sounded drunk, and then they laughed. I laughed too, actually. But I forgot how that came up. I forgot the exact context, but it was like, oh, you mean drunk like DJ Ronnie G? But no, jokes aside, what fixed itself now? Oh yeah, if anybody wants to hop on, I mean, like, you know, let me know. You know, I'm not sure. Like I said in the beginning, I'm basically gonna do this until probably 7. Oh, I'm hearing my own voice. Let me mute my audio. Audio mute. Oh, I'm on Rumble. Here I am. Wait, no, that's not it. Where am I hearing my own voice? Okay, let me just shut off my own voice before I go insane. But real quick, okay. As long as you're not getting duplicate audio, I guess it doesn't matter what I'm hearing on the headphones. So real quick. So we got color key black, color key gray, because these are all of the colors that are inside the you know, YouTube chat window that we use. So yeah, I mean, like Padawannabe, I think there's plugins. If I was doing it, if I needed to equalize it, I'd probably do it through OBS, and I can actually show you one way to do that. Although I think the OBS is definitely like a whole kitchen sink, and that could be good sometimes. But you know, it's like someone doesn't want to mess with that shit out of the starting gate. I don't blame them. You know, this has been. Oh hey, what up, Padawannabe? Thank you for jumping into the chat so I can test it out. So you can see how the white color key sort of clashes pretty badly. So what I'm going to do is switch into this mode. and make my adjustments like this or like this. Where is my Rumble chat? Which monitor is that on? Oh, it's on it. I see where it is. So, cool thing is in OBS, I didn't mention this, but if I want to copy something, what I can do is I got Rumble chat like right here for my MSI monitor. So if I copy it and I paste it to my main camera, I can do paste reference. And what's beautiful about doing paste reference is now when I make adjustments to the filter settings from any reference item, it's going to affect all copies of that reference. So I don't have to go chasing down, like, I don't have to duplicate settings like 5 times, you know? And my OBS setting definitely looks a bit more complex than it needs to be. Like one of these days, especially if there's an expressed interest, I'll do it sooner than later. And frankly, expressed interest would help me because it would allow me to target, you know, like what people want to know, you know, so I don't go all over the place. I don't want to like start off like in one direction and then people pop into the live stream going, oh yeah, I got a question about this. Like I'd rather know the questions early because I really would love to, like, you know, address a bunch of shit like that, right? What up, David Glenn? Good to see you. I'd really like to address, you know, specific things, you know, and some things I can't or don't do, right? I mean, like, you know, I just don't use Streamlabs OBS. Like, I set it up for a friend just to kind of help him out, and I was like, I'm not using this at home. It's like, nope. Okay, so my voice is coming out of Google Chrome. So I need to find the browser tab where my voice is coming out. So give me 2. Oh, here I am. I'm on my main monitor. I was here the whole time. Okay, good. So there we go. Okay, good. Because right now, and you can see a little white line actually on, like, when I go back to my desktop. Let's say if I minimize this, you can actually see like a vertical white line, like right somewhere. I don't know. You can see it. I can't. But anyway, I can see it in the window. So let's focus. So how's everyone doing today? Okay, so let's see here. Let's get, now apparently there's a different shade of white on the edge of the window. Now the yellow I'm seeing on my, I see a yellow border, but that's only because OBS gives me a yellow border to tell me, hey, this window is being captured. That's more of a feature. Sometimes what I would do is I would take a screenshot and then try to match the colors. So only problem is that I don't think there's like enough to copy the color from. So I'm expanding the shit out of this window right now. And we're going to try it like that. We're going to just try, you know, like getting all of the key colors. Actually, that was not pun intended, but key color, that is a funny pun since we're messing with the color key. And, you know, Pop Culture Mechanic was playing a video game this morning when I was still trying to roll over and sleep. It was like, it wasn't Mario. I know that much. Oh, and I still got to control the telescope. Look at this. We're all over the place today. So I am planning a Monday show where Punk Waddle appears. And, you know, I got his agreement, basically. You know, obviously, like, there's details to be refined. Like, he might say, oh, I'm not available that day. I just crashed Photoshop. Like, as it was opening. All right, let's try that again. And so I don't know if I should even mention the topic. It does involve the Arctic. Oh, boy. Photoshop does not like me right now. I think I know why Photoshop doesn't like me. Because it's trying to open up on my right monitor. Okay, it didn't crash yet. It didn't crash yet. All right, it didn't crash yet. So it's on my right side monitor. It didn't crash yet. So I'm going to try clicking on it and pray. Oh, God damn it. Okay, so Photoshop doesn't like opening up on my right monitor, apparently. I'm going to have to Google that and find out what I can do aside from reinstalling it. Like, let's see here. Load Photoshop 7. Yeah, I got the old version. 7 with default settings, which actually shouldn't really be a problem. Control-Alt-Shift while starting. Let's try it out. So you can't see my left edge of my monitor unless, but we're going to do Control-Alt-Shift. And I guess to click on it, we could click Enter, but I'm gonna click on it. And then it's gonna be like, oh, you want to start as administrator? And yeah, sure, but I don't care about that. I need Photoshop to recognize that I'm resetting its internal settings. Okay, I don't give a shit about running as administrator. And it looks like it did not reset its internal settings because it's certainly, you know, retaining all of my customizations. You fucking whore. That's fucking annoying. I'm sorry, that's super annoying. Like I don't, you know, obviously we're streaming right now, right? I don't want to like start disabling monitors. That would totally, see, that's an interesting aspect though. If you have 3 monitors and you share your screen on OBS, and you disconnect the monitor and plug it back in, you got to double check your monitors to make sure they're all assigned correctly, because these buttons won't give you the right monitor if it shuffles them, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And, you know, so anyway, let's catch up with the chat real quick. And yes, you did catch the stream at the beginning, David Glenn. Pop Coach Mechanic, good evening. I might play Mario in a little while. The new one. Actually, no, I might not play Mario in a little while because the quality sucks on LIVESTREAM Studio, and that's okay. It's not designed for gaming. It's for people, you know, running a conference, which I will put out a link if anybody wants to drop in. And yeah, the Pop Culture is playing Golden Sun DJ. Oh, that's a cool name for a game, Golden Sun DJ. I might check it out. They named the game after me. I know you meant Golden Sun. I'm just messing around. I should pick your brain for karaoke stuff sometime. Pick my brain. It's probably better to put a hook through the nose to pick the brains, so you get the brains out from the inside without making a mess. I saw that on an episode of Tales from the Crypt. And yeah, you know, like not, you know, certain things not everyone needs, but I can see where like I can see what you're saying, that your voice changes after singing some songs, a little manipulation would help. Okay, I got you there. Well, I might just play around those settings in a moment, but I'd really like Photoshop to effing open up right now. So I'm thinking like there's got to be something like how to reset the settings or something, you know, like first hold down Control Alt Shift while keeping those buttons hold, simply open Photoshop. Now the problem with doing it that way is that Windows has a feature too that recognizes the pressing of Control Alt Shift as you basically telling it to run as administrator. So if I click it like right now, will it still trap the Control Alt Shift input? And apparently not. So that's tremendously unhelpful. It's actually not that hard to uninstall and reinstall Photoshop, to be honest. Like that would actually be probably pretty trivial, assuming I have it like somewhere in my yeah, I literally have a folder on my drive right here. Like I found it right now. So I guess we're just gonna have to uninstall Photoshop because I'm relying on that fucking eyedropper. I am, like, it's like I could, unless I have GIMP installed, and I really don't want to use GIMP, man. Like, I'm sorry, I'm being a boomer right now, but I don't want to use GIMP. Okay, that's like a pain in the ass for me. It's a learning curve. I still play DJ Hero. Yo, I remember that game. That was an interesting game. I like how it had like the fake Serato on it, you know, which I think Serato is like a company that makes like almost like a fake turntable. Did I uninstall the wrong Photoshop? I think I uninstalled Adobe Image Ready by accident, which is fine actually because it's in the package. But anyway, as long as I didn't uninstall Adobe Premiere, because that was a pain in the ass to configure. It gave me an interesting error message while uninstalling it. I guess I'll share it with you guys. Are you sure you want to completely remove Photoshop 7? Yes, I am sure. So I click yes. It goes, uninstall, you'll detect that the is still in use. Oh! Maybe that's why it's not cooperating. All right. So we're going to go and look for Photoshop in the task manager. It's not here. It lied to me. Oh, here it is. Wait a second. It was actually, okay, let's try. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. I'm sure it's going to crash on me, but we're going to be... So it says it's loading on my left monitor, and it says it's here, and it crashed immediately. But it's still running over here. So we'll kill it from the task manager. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. Then we'll double click on it again here, uninstall it. But yeah, like there was this thing. It was almost like a blank record, a blank LP or whatever you call it, vinyls. And it was designed, I guess, so that you'd play digital music from a digital device, but when you spin the fucking thing, and part of my French, it would do the whole, the scratch. Yeah, that's what they call it, right? Scratching, which is like, it sometimes literally scratches the vinyl. Well, I just realized you have a shirt on that's completely white. That's not completely white. Not only that, and you know what? I had to go and do some extra things to make this work on camera because I don't currently have a blue screen at my disposal. So what I did was I basically in OBS I drew an extra box around my shirt. I can even demonstrate that while Photoshop is installing, although that should be a 30-second installation. So anyway, if we go into, let's see, studio mode, then we switch like this. So basically the short answer to how I did it was, if you see on the left side, you have this red box. That red box, notice the color green on that red box. Now watch what happens when I turn off that red box. See that? So basically what I did was I duplicated one of the camera groups I have, which is how I do my chroma key. And then I disabled the chroma key filter. So you can even see like the back wall behind me. And if I turn it on, it disappears. So that's essentially isolated to this region of my shirt. So I turned off the chroma key, but if I get up, you can see like the green over here. And that was kind of important in order to be able to, keep Floral, the green guy, and his font in balance. Whereas Punkwaddle, I think Punkwaddle still basically looks fine, and all of that. Even Floral looks gray, but I'd rather that everyone be the right color, So that's where we are at. So where did my installation go? I need this to install right now. Like Captain Kirk would say, I need you. Because I want this Rumble chat to look good. Well, as good as I hopefully can get it. I don't know if I can get it to look good. Is this thing even running? I'm going to double click on setup.exe like a third time and see what happens. I think it's just picking a fight with me right now, this software. Okay, so I don't know. I got 3 install executables here. We're going to kill them all, and then hopefully we can actually launch it. And then it's actually going, hey, yeah, whatever, just go away. Windows is like, can we help you with that? Nah, yeah, I'm good. Oh, yeah, backyard computer's a charm. In fact, we should check on that right now. And to do that, I would use, doggone it. Now I can't reinstall Photoshop. Whatever, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna use that stupid fucking GIMP. I mean, GIMP isn't stupid. I just don't like the learning curve. I got stuff flying around in my stomach. Oh God. Oh yeah, that flu virus there, right? Mrs. Flu's a sweetheart. So yeah, I guess I gotta restart my computer or something, but we're not doing that right now. Like, I love how like I don't have to restart my computer for weeks. Although I generally do power cycle it frequently enough. And then it's when I'm streaming, that's the moment that it actually wants to like, give me trouble, right? And I don't even know if there's any other task manager processes that are associated with Photoshop's installer, because that's probably why the installer isn't running. But I'm not about to kill all of these runtime brokers in case they are responsible for something I care about. So, okay, let's see what we can do here. I really was trying to avoid using this like the plague. But we copied our graphic. Oh, shoot, I got to switch monitors again. I'm sorry. Where's my manners? So, yeah, we got this. We copied the graphic. We're going to paste it in here. And we're going to zoom in on it a lot. I'm guessing the UI. Yep, control and scroll wheel does do it. And there's the shade of gray we want to, I think, isolate. So I pressed the letter I on my keyboard, but that does not give me the eyedropper. So we got to find, it's actually Shift M or is it O? I think it's O. Well, anyway, we clicked on it. We now got the shade of gray. Now let's double click on the color square. And over here, it should tell us it's got the HTML notation. Is that what we record hexadecimal? Well, anyway, let's see if it's compatible with OBS. So, oh, I got to copy the I got to copy the Rumble chat to another instance. So we're going to put that into the Dell monitor. So there we go. It's right there. Same thing. We got the filter settings up on screen. And we're going to copy the HTML color code. We're going to go here where the color gray is. I'm going to replace it and hopefully it doesn't misbehave. And yeah, there we go. It gave us the exact color. So you could do this in Photoshop. You could do this in GIMP. And essentially what you're doing is you're just taking a screenshot like I did over here. You can take a screenshot whatever way you're comfortable doing it. And then once you have your screenshot, you paste it into the photo program. You use the eyedropper tool, basically just so that it tells you what color it is. And it'll come up in the color palette. You click on it. And there will be some kind of hexadecimal or HTML color code there. And so we can now see if that changes anything. So we had Padawana be in the Rumble chat. And interestingly, I can't even see the letters from his messages anymore. So either I'm doing something wrong or I have the layering all off. That's weird. I feel like I should see something there, right? Like it's there on my... It's over here. Oh, wait. I know what I did wrong. Okay. I think I know what I did wrong. Nope. It's not there. Okay. So let's see. We're going to do a little testing here. We're going to turn off all of the chroma keys. So we've turned off everything. So apparently the Rumble chat window is... Oh, I see what I did wrong. Okay. My mistake. My mistake. Wait, I think it's my mistake. Okay, good. So we're making progress here, which means we are progressive. Oh shit, so anyway, if anybody's listening, I saw a video today that was surprising to me, and I meant to do like a separate video about this. But I figured since while I'm making these adjustments and tweaking these settings, I would talk about the video I saw today in the realm of politics. Yes, I can see that chat, thank you. Okay, good, that's working. So now we're gonna try to get the Rumble chat to do what I'm able to do with the YouTube chat. So we're just kind of filtering out colors here. And I'm going to make another reference. But yeah, so what did I see today? Well, basically what I saw today was, I don't know, was it a communist? It might have been a communist. Everyone's a communist now. But it was some person and they were like, trying to remember, was it about trans stuff? Yeah, it was a video about trans stuff. And it was like showing like, the video is titled The Decline or the Fall of the Young Turks. And it had a video of like Anna Kasparian yelling at Alex Jones on a stage while sitting next to, I think, Schenk. And Schenk got triggered and offended when Alex Jones said something about him taking money from some group that he was opposed to, you know. And around the same time, Jimmy Dore, who worked for the Young Turks, Jimmy Dore spits water at Alex Jones. In fact, we should just pull up the clip, shouldn't we? And I was just like perplexed. I was like, what the fuck is like, I have no love for Alex Jones. I really don't. Like lately I've been trying to be like a little more reasonable because I have this term, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. But, you know, like my criticism of Alex Jones definitely differ from a lot of mainstream criticisms. You know, a lot of the focus when you look at Alex Jones is like, oh, the Sandy Hook thing. And it's like, okay, well, I never really gave a shit about the, you know, Sandy Hook conspiracy. It sounded compelling when I saw that one video documentary, but I mean, like, it was like, you know, I wasn't really, like I wasn't really just like, it's like, anybody can like take a bunch of disparate facts, put them together and make claims. And the problem with that, I guess what bothered me was this concept of crisis actors. Like it just sounded like too easy of an explanation for this conspiracy. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like I'm sure there's such a thing as a crisis actor, but I don't think it's what people thought it was. But I'm not even trying to open that can of worms here, right? Really. My issue with Alex Jones was, why am I not? I'm not in the corner of my own screen. I need to be in the corner of my screen. My vanity demands it. Wrong corner. There I am. So this is basically, my issue with Alex Jones was in like the year 2000, he was having a bit of a pissing contest with, what's his name? Bill Cooper or Milton William Cooper or some shit like that. And he, did this Y2K episode where Bill Cooper did a good job of exposing it. It was basically Alex Jones, like, trying to scare the shit out of people on, the New Year's Eve of Y2K, because, I mean, there was that big Y2K scare, and it kind of looks like an asshole. If you find the audio, maybe one day we'll do a reaction to it. And he just seems like an asshole. In fact, I really wish I prepared to do a reaction to it today. I bet you guys might enjoy that. So we should probably write these things down, or I'll try to remember this, because right now I have a short laundry list. And I mentioned 2 things we want to do in a future video. But anyway, it was just like, like him kind of dramatizing it. Like, oh, a power plant shut off, its nuclear power plant shut down partially because of a computer issue. And it might not have even been a computer issue, but he made it sound like pandemonium. Then he's bringing up fucking Vladimir Putin. He's like, oh yeah, Vladimir Putin is doing this thing in Russia. He's killing people. And they call him Vlad the Impaler. And it's like, he's all over the fucking place, Alex Jones, on this Y2K event. So Bill Cooper did a good job of exposing that. So for a while, I was this purist saying how much I dislike Alex Jones because of that, just that one fraudulent example, like, kind of just spoke volumes to me. And Bill Cooper is this pure guy who passes the purity test, But then, like, the cracks with Bill Cooper started showing, because, I mean, I got to question how bright the guy is if he thinks the entire space program is a fraudulent thing, a fraudulent enterprise. And I remember a guy who's a big Bill Cooper fan was showing a video where Bill Cooper showed pictures from a book, and it was basically like a guy was inside the anti-gravity simulated plane, and Time Magazine posted a reversed image. So you have like one picture where the guy's in the plane, and you have another picture where it says he's in the Gemini capsule, but he's also in the same plane. And it's like, look, yeah, maybe like Time Magazine wasn't playing it straight, and NASA didn't call him out for it, but for one, it's a magazine, so it's not like NASA could say, oh, update that page on the magazine retroactively, like that. I just don't see it as like a strong piece of evidence for, the idea that the space program, the Gemini program, the Mercury 7, that was fake. I just don't think that was a good, way to demonstrate that, So I do think maybe Bill Cooper was a bit of a fool in that regard. And if I offend anyone, I apologize. I try to keep an open mind with the moon landing in particular, because I can't prove the moon landing. I can prove that the Earth is round, but I can't prove that there's objects on the moon's surface. But, I mean, the engineering legwork was done in order to make that happen. People would say, oh, how could we lose the technology to build a Saturn V rocket? And they just don't understand the work that went into it. The fact that there were handwritten notes associated with every engine serial number. And I know I went off topic. I was talking about Jimmy Dore, but like literally, like every Saturn V rocket, sure, there was some machinist work, but some of it was hand work done by hand, plumbing, and every engine serial number had like notes from the engineer associated with that engine. And just because you have an engine that you think you could reverse engineer, and maybe you even have the blueprints for those engines, there was a lot of like up here knowledge and information written on notes that got lost. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, it's actually easier to design a new engine or use another engine that is better documented, so to speak, to get, back to the moon, for example. But anyway, let's see what the chat has to say. And then I'll tell you what I learned about Jimmy Dore right after I fixed this chat window thing. So the Rumble chat thing I figured out, obviously. I just got to resize it or uncrop it like that. And I got to pick one instance that I want to keep using. So we'll use this one for now. And when I turn on the color gray, I don't see any change. Yeah, I don't see any change at all. Maybe you guys do. I don't. Certainly when I turn off the white color key, it works. Nothing happens there. Let's see what other colors we can filter or mess around with. And then maybe I'll have to find another trick. But we're going to go back to here. And we're going to see what other colors reside in this window. So we're just going to scroll sideways. And, well, one, I made a mistake. I have to take a new screenshot. So what was my mistake? I took a screenshot from the OBS window. So my color key is Shingard. It's wrong. But while we're doing that, I should tell you about what I saw of Jimmy Dore. So Jimmy Dore literally spits water on Alex Jones. I guess he disagreed with Alex Jones. So in this video, while Shank and Alex Jones are about to get into like a fist fight, Jimmy Dore literally spits water on Alex Jones. I'm going to show you that video right now. Or about 5 seconds. So hang with me in about 12 seconds. Yep, I'm going to revise the time estimate. I'm going to show you this. So first, let's double check out color, thing here. So color white. I mean, I think we got it, right? Is it actual white? Yeah, it's FFF, and that's exactly the color I'm using here. So now there seems to be a shade of gray or something in this window we need to identify. So we're going to zoom in on it like we did earlier. We're going to find out what color there is. And it looks like there might be a shade of gray here that I don't think is really consequential. But we're going to copy it. And that's 40, 40, 40, 40. So we're going to take 40, 40, 40, 40. And we're going to paste it in. And it should change the way things look over here. So I paste it into the color code here. And then we could toggle it on. I don't really see any change. But what's interesting is the window does change a little bit, right? So really, I'm just trying to find a way. Now, I do have an idea for fixing the Rumble chat, and we're going to do that in a moment because I just came up with a brainstorm. Well, I had a brainstorm, but first, let me show you that video of Mr. Doorknob. And look, the reason I'm showing this is because Jimmy Dore, I thought he was kind of reasonable. Like, he was starting to sound reasonable in recent time. You know what I mean? Like, he's still, like, a commie, or at least has strong socialist proclivities, but he was at least seeming like, he wasn't purely like being political. You know how some people have like strong political biases to the point they can't even imagine like trying to see people, meet people halfway or something. It's like they really got to be very hostile. And he was starting to sound like he's willing to have conversations, and maybe he evolved, maybe he changed for the better. But his like change of heart or his seemingly reasonable, attitude in recent time, I gotta question it because I don't know. This seems like the actions of an insane man. So let's see if we can get this timed. And I'm gonna put it in slow motion after we find it.
What do you think? The lizard people are in charge? No. Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed. We're kicking your ass.
Is that what you think?
You're the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit.
We're being nice here.
You know what I care about? I care about the American people.
Good. You're the one putting the house.
Two things have been kind of overlooked in this confrontation because of TYT's more subdued.
And I should admit that, yes, the video person named Kafal, they're the one who narrated this video. So I do want to give credit. That's why I found this clip. So it is not my original legwork right here.
Production value. At the height of tension, Anna Kasparian called Alex Jones a fat fuck. And moments later, Cenk and Anna's shouting match, TYT employee Jimmy Dore snuck in to spit water on Alex's
So we're going to play that in slow motion.
face.
You want fucking attention? Get off the stage, you fat fuck!
You're the one putting the house.
It's like right here.
Anybody hurt? I'm being nice.
It happened so fast. That it was like he just spit water in my face, Alex Jones says. So now let's play that in like ultra slow motion. Do like 25% speed. It's gonna be a little slow. And then I'm gonna catch up on the chat. You see that? You saw that, right? Right? What was that shit?
Me TYT now.
I like how people sound drunk and slow. That's my reenactment of the slow motion. All right. I think it's him on the left side, top left quadrant. And he looks so classy doing it. Like, he looks like a guy at a champagne party. There it is. You can see the stream coming out of him. So it's like, I don't know what type of fucking degenerate behavior this is at all. Like, I cannot wrap my head around it. I mean, like, even pre-COVID, if anyone like Alex Jones did the same thing, I'm pretty sure that would be called a super spreader event or something, you know? But let's see what the chat has to say now. So, real quick, we're going to catch up on the previous chats. And I saw a giant 4x4 truck painted like the General Lee near my house. Wow. I went to school at Port Richmond High School in the neighborhood of Port Richmond, and I saw a parked truck that had a giant Confederate flag on the front. And back then, I think it was racist, and I thought it was funny because it was like, wow, this guy is crazy. He's got a thing. But I didn't realize that you're not necessarily racist, you know. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to open up that can of worms. I'm not an expert on that topic. A coworker argued that the Confederate flag being on a truck and used in any way is really only being used by people with a negative attitude trying to get a rise or whatever. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, they still have a right to have that flag. We can't just ban every symbol that gets adopted in a negative way. Like, before you know it, you know, if the wrong people, you know, put crucifixes, I mean, people used to burn crucifixes on people's lawns. Should we ban the cross? You know, that's like I don't know, maybe I'm using a false equivalence here, but I do think that's a slippery slope. But let's keep going here. I got my job at IBM because of Y2K, the biggest non-event ever. Yeah, I heard there was big money. Now, you know what? If you want to get a job, get on top of the 2038 problem. There's going to be big money because that's a real problem. I think the 2038 problem is a real problem. That's like apparently due to the way Unix time works, 2038 or 2039, basically that's going to cause computers once again to say it's the year 1900, except by then there's going to be a much broader dependence on it. And look, some cases on microcontrollers that run Unix or Linux-based operating systems, you might not be able to fix that, but there may be workarounds, maybe a network appliance that takes over the timekeeping. Or, I mean, realistically, a light switch is going to work as a light switch, whether it's 1900 or 2038. You know, so I think there's room for workarounds, but it is potentially a bigger problem than the Y2K thing, like, for those reasons. Pop culture mechanic. It sure was a big nothing burger, but people were worried about Y2K. Yeah, I remember in my school, I was in like fucking junior high school, middle school. They sent out a note to parents about the whole Y2K thing, explaining briefly why and potential consequences and why it's like a thing, you know. But they didn't necessarily drum up fear. They were just, I guess, trying to get ahead of it a bit by saying we're aware of this. It's probably not a big deal. I don't think they made it into a scary thing necessarily, but the fact that parents are getting notes about it probably made people more alert about it than whether it was necessary or not. And then Padawannabe says, I saw a video the other day showing different animals in zero gravity. I seen one of those too, like when the mice are running around a cube-shaped compartment and creating their own centrifugal force. That was kind of cool, amongst other animals like frogs and cats. These are children. Normal citizens get arrested for less than what they did here. Yeah, that's my point. Like, you know, I mean, that's one of my points. Absolutely. You know, this is why I give no time to politics. I don't follow any of these freaks. I just happen to live here. Lucky us, right? Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Sometimes, yeah, I got to shut off and like, I have a father who's fairly politically active, and I respect that. But at the same time, I tell him, like, you know, if you don't get the result you want in an election, don't just get depressed and be like, oh, the country's over. Because as far as I'm concerned, the country was over fucking 80 years ago. The point is, you just got to make your living, eke out your living, do what you can. Get, you know, I work for the state right now, and, you know, I feel morally, you know, like conflicted about it. But at the same time, it's like everyone's got to, you know, eke out the living that I think they're capable of eking out for whatever income. Different people, I've heard different examples, and one school of thought is effort to income ratio, right? Like, it's a crazy one, but the effort to income ratio is what it sounds like. Some people will seek a job that requires the least effort for the maximum amount of income. I mean, naturally, everyone should be doing that is doing that to some extent, but some people may genuinely want to produce things, you know, they want to manufacture efficiently. So it's not really about the effort as it is about, you know, producing more value, I guess. But other people, you know, they work in fast food and they maybe don't have a chance of getting a skilled labor job. And they say, you know what? I'll take the office job that requires the minimum effort, you know, like, because like nobody appreciates me anyway, so to speak. You know, it might be one mindset, you know, one school of thought. So let's connect to the backyard computer and see how that telescope is doing. And then we'll revisit the, you know, the chat windows, which I got a couple of ideas for that, but I'm actually going to copy the instance of Rumble chat from this screen here and delete the other ones as I work my way around, because I want the settings to be consistent on all of them. So anyway, we got a window here and we got a border on the left side. Now I can actually just crop the border on the left side, so we don't actually have to, like, you know, we don't have to actually get rid of that particular color. But anyway, let's focus on the telescope. And that's like pun intended. Focus. I literally have the focus controller running. I also fixed the USB connection for the power supply box, so now I can actually monitor the power going in and the temperature and humidity, which is, the humidity readings are false. A spider laid a nest inside the humidity sensor, and it now doesn't give us accurate readings, so we just kind of roll with that. I don't know if you can keep this program open while controlling the focus from another application, but we're going to try it out today. So first, we're going to connect using Stellarium Scope. And then we're going to open up Stellarium, which is how we aim the telescope. And while we're doing that, we're going to open up SharpCap, which is what takes pictures. And yes, meteor showers were popping last night, David, Glenn. And it's funny because, like, last night it was raining, but the night before I was catching like random streaks, and some of them, like, I thought satellites, but then I realized some of them had to be meteorites because I was pointing in the correct direction according to the highlighted areas in Stellarium. There are, you know, regions of sky that are, you know, consistent with the, I forget the names of these. They have these weird names, like they sound like plural names. Like, in fact, they'll come up right here now. It'll say like Andromedids. See, I can't say it, but you know what I mean. And I think we're seeing some right here. Northern Taurids. So if I click here, that's the Northern Taurids. And basically, like, when you zoom in on the meteor shower indicator like I'm doing here, this is my image sensor, this red square. And realistically, a telescope has too much zoom, too narrow of a field of view for this type of thing. Whereas if you had like a camera lens or just like an all-sky lens or a wide-angle lens, you're more likely to see the meteor shower, because, you know, you could like just have it in this particular area and, you know, you have like on a 1 minute exposure, maybe even longer, and you'll definitely capture some streaks or trails and what have you. So that's one way to do it. So now let's see what type of targets we can find here. Oh, I never heard of this Silver Galaxy. What does that look like? Well, it's small, requires a telescope of a tighter field of view, but you can see it right there. I did remember something. I want to see how the Cigar Galaxy is doing today. We're going to unpark the mount so we can actually maneuver it. So right now, I'd say it's still pretty low. What I like to do is wait for this part of the sky to rise up, and it basically is going to move in a circular path because the Earth is not flat. Like, literally, that's why this is evidence the Earth is not flat. Like, just this whole region of the sky just kind of demonstrates that strongly. But let's see here. Let's see what the chat says here. My wife also works for the state. I'll take their money for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it, quote unquote, disappeared somehow. I'd be super PO'd, but not surprised. So it's funny, my dad retired from the city of which I live in, and I mean, not that it's a secret, but why give the detailed identity theft people? But anyway, like, it took like a year, I think, for them to actually cash out the pension properly. Like, and that's a lot of people's issues, is like it takes a while for the money to come through because they have to like run it through the actuary, and I don't know, I'm making up words here, but there's a process. And so I was reading, like, in the year 2001, there was a teacher who was trying to take out their pension, and the bank was just like, oh, the school or the pension bureau was like, just take out a loan until then. He's like, I don't want to take out a fucking $10,000 loan. Like, just like, give me the money I'm entitled to, motherfuckers. But it took time, and it's just, so that's an interesting thing. And it may come a day where they can't pay people's pensions out, and I think that probably gets people worried, like, about that down the road. Like, so what they do is, my dad was like in tier 1, I'm in tier 5 or tier 6, and every few years, like, I guess after a certain point, they realized the pension benefits were way too good. So they changed the rules. They said, you know, we're not going to give you the best income for your last 3 years. Because there used to be a thing where people, if they would like work a lot of overtime for their final 3 years, they get like a bigger pension that way. And so they close these loopholes. They deal with these things in the contract. And ultimately, it's like a net negative for anybody who's in tier 6, but it's still a defined benefits pension. So that's like advantageous in many ways for people, right? As long as you will, you know, some people, they just stay for the 10-year milestone so they could have the vested medical benefits, or the 20-year milestone so they can just retire and figure out something else in their life. And you live near a dark zone, David Glenn, so that, yeah, I imagine you could visually see it without, you know, any aid. Definitely me, I'm doing it, you know, using, basically I'm engaging in electronically assisted viewing of the meteor showers, but that's more like a side thing, because most of the time I'm doing a long exposure of a galaxy, a nebula or something. And it's an interesting point. Pop Culture Mechanic says he knows, I know the world is round, because when I went to Hawaii, the night sky was completely different, and from where I live, I didn't recognize any constellations. Excuse me, I belched. And that's another cool thing is, like, I'm looking at the, oh, what is that? It looks interesting. I think we're going to try this one out here. Let's take a look at the Iris Nebula. So, what filter should we use on the Iris Nebula? Red, green, blue. Well, red, if we focus on the red filter, it's easier for us to, like, use the hydrogen filter afterwards. So we'll let the camera get into the, oh, it's already in the zone. So, good news, bad news. Good news is that there's no more of a lag when I'm typing into this little area here, so that's really cool. The bad news is, I don't know if the plate solving actually works, but we're going to first make sure we're looking at the target, so we're going to crank up the exposure time by, like, a lot. We're going to check the temperature of the camera. The image sensor is set to negative, it's currently reading negative 13 Celsius, and we're going to crank it down to negative 25 Celsius. And if it can't maintain that temperature, we'll lower it to like negative 15 or whatever. So we gotta then do some things here, and then have the camera doing its thing over there, and then hit the histogram stretch button here. And I don't see anything at the moment. So maybe there are no stars. Maybe God nuked space. No, but jokes aside, I have a solution for this. So basically, we need to scan until we see some, like, points of light, basically. And I probably should have picked a bright region of sky. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the motorized focuser until I can see something. Hydrogen, yeah, in this case I'm talking about hydrogen alpha, which is ionized electrically charged hydrogen. It's not a white shirt, it's got green and penguin on it. See, it's my friend Punkwaddle. This is Mrs. Flu, she's pink. Wilton's yellow, but he's not Asian. Wait, my orientation is off. Yeah, this guy, yeah, he's yellow, but he's not Asian. And then you got the green guy, Floral, from Under a Rock. All right, so now let's hope I can get this thing to focus, because oh wait, I think I see a star. I might see a star. It might be severely out of focus. We got the amp glow. Oh yeah, we should turn off the black frame, dark frame subtraction right now because it's not on the matching exposure yet. Oh, there we go. See that white circle? That's a star. So now we're gonna just try to get that into focus by dialing it in. And it looks like when I dial it in, it gets bigger, which means we got to go in the opposite direction. So I know David Glenn watches Snow Dub. I believe the Padawannabe might watch Snow Dub. I believe Pop Culture Mechanic watches Snow Dub sometimes. Philip McCracken? Not sure. I think he might watch him once in a while. There's a guy who appears in Floral from Under a Rock's chat named Release the McCracken. And I'm like, oh, is that Phil? And it's like, no, it's not Phil. Yeah, puppets and hoes in the house. So one interesting thing, and this is something that I bet Pop Culture Mechanic could relate to. When I move the motorized focuser out, you're going to see the star shift up like it just did now. Not only is it getting smaller, but it shifts up. But then I have something where it overshoots the mark and it goes back down. And so what's happening is when the piston for the motorized focuser is on a rack, it's got a rack and pinion basically mechanism. So it's like a pipe inside of another pipe sliding out like this. But when it slides out, there's only a gear on one side and there's like a copper or steel bar on the other side to kind of keep it on track. But I think what happens is when the motor's going out, it rocks like this. So then what I do is I like to retract it. So what I do instead is when it's going out, let's say 50 steps or 600 steps, it goes out 900 steps so that now after it's the thing rocks like this, it's going to pull it back by 300 steps. And so no matter what, whenever I want to focus, I always want it to go like basically like go in one direction. So if that's going outward direction, it's basically set up so that it goes in the outward direction, overshoots it by 300 steps, then it pulls it back in by 300 steps to basically resolve the backlash. And there's a little bit more I need to do. So there's two types of backlash. You got the gears basically, and then you got the other backlash, which isn't really backlash. It's more like let's see here, EQ6. No wait, what's my telescope? Esprit 100 ED Pegasus focuser. There we go. I got some pictures right here for you, Pop Culture Mechanic. So basically, there's some motorized focus that goes on the telescope where the knob would be for the thing, and this part here is where I mount my camera, and it goes in and out. And so you can see how we got a knob over here. We put a motor on the other side of the knob. There's a close-up of the knob that we remove. There's the removed piece, and then here's the collar I attached so that I can actually, mount the motorized focuser of that brand name to it. It's like an adapter. But I guess what you want to see, what I need you to see, or to explain what I'm talking about better, I need to show you this area right here. So you can see that gear right there. So when you turn the knob, this gear, I'm going to play with Rumble Chat in a little while. And thank you for following me on Rumble Padawannabe. If the white block on the chat on the screen is here is bad, don't do that option. Yeah, I'll play around with it. I got a couple ideas. So anyway, yeah, bottom line is that so the teeth between the gear and this linear gear, I guess you would call it, right? So when it's moving the gear in one direction, it's gonna go like this. But then when it wants to reverse, there's going to be a certain amount of play, right? Where the teeth don't engage until it moves like a couple of millimeters, let's say, or half a millimeter. And that backlash should only be like 100 steps, I think. About 100 steps. The problem is that the more that the inner tube extends, the more rocking that is going on. And I don't think that counts as backlash, but it has the same effect that I can't get repeatable performance out of this mechanism. So what I realized what I need to do is I can't have it like this. Like this picture is showing exactly what we don't want. So basically, this the top part. So there's a gear on the opposite side of this tube here. And what I wanted to do is maybe to go out no more than one screw. So I think it's about 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters. I wanted to go out no more than that first screw there, basically. Because then the majority of the steel and brass, gear are like inside of this tube, nicely engaged on the track. And maybe that'll help to deal with the rocking. And if not, maybe I could shove some Teflon strips inside this pipe over here. In fact, I might go outside a little while and try to shove some Teflon in there. I had some on my desk that I misplaced. Here we go. I got one Teflon strip here. I'll cut up some more. And so I was literally thinking I would take this Teflon strip here. And just shove it in there. Like in these sides over here, for example, in order to give it like more pressure to prevent it from rocking. But I feel like that's not a good solution until I reduce. Right now, I think it has to go out to the middle, basically, which isn't terrible, but it creates too much rocking motion. There's also some plastic strips already, and there's like 2 plastic strips in here on the corners, and you have screws that you tighten down to press on the side of the pipe. So it already has those strips. And I remember at one time I had a motor that couldn't like push through it, so I had to loosen it up. Now it's pretty snug, but like I said, we have that rocking motion. So to deal with the rocking motion, I did 2 things. I basically just told it overshoot the mark by 300 steps. There we go. Apparently one of the adjustment screws is like under this label. In fact, did I ever touch that one? Place the motor on the bracket and align the motor shaft to the already placed motor coupler. Secure the motor with the bracket by tightening all 4 bolts. Be sure to have the set screws of the motor coupler on top. This is required to allow you to have access to them by using the hex key tool. Do not tighten the coupler set screws on the motor side yet. I want to know what this arrow is telling me here. Detach and place the finder holder on the opposite side where the hidden screw is. Oh, okay. So basically this is if you had a finder scope attached to the telescope, you would remove this and put it on the other side, apparently. I don't know if I ever did that. Maybe, I don't know if my version of the directions even said to do that. I'm like, and I don't know if that's actually necessary, but I guess they're suggesting to put the finder scope on the other side so it doesn't interfere with the motor. I guess, maybe. I mean, this guy didn't move it. Oh, I see why they say move it to the other side. You can see right here, if you don't move it to the other side, yeah, you got some pretty tight clearances like right there. So I can see that being problematic for some people. Okay, it's good to know. But also there's some screws that are hard to access, I think, underneath that. So there's that too. I think it's about 100 steps, David Glenn. Like I said, I'm not like 100% accurate on that, but it's about 100 steps. But because of the side-to-side backlash, I had like another 200 steps. That seems to be like what works for me. So, I mean, I have a pretty more mature understanding of this mechanism than I once did. So that's kind of cool because, like, at least I understand how it works better to the point that, like, I can do things to it to maybe get me in the direction of repeatable performance without buying. I would love to buy the $4,000 Moon Nightcrawler motorized focuser. That thing is a beauty. Made in America. A beautiful piece of engineering, you know? But it's $4,000. Now, granted, they have a cheaper version, but the $4,000 one is cool because it literally has a rotator built into it. It's got a very precise camera rotator built into it. Now, luckily, we have one bright star here, so we can actually crank down our exposure settings a lot and probably use that bright star as our guiding star. Yeah, so we should have clear weather tonight and a little bit of clear weather tomorrow. And then Monday, I'm off Tuesday, so I can actually take the time to bring the computer inside. So I think I've already overshot the mark, and we're going to verify that. We're going to purposely overshoot the mark to see if this goes out of focus. Oh, it's actually in fine focus now. So we did not overshoot the mark, but I know we're getting closer. So what we do is we just tighten it up until we either A, overshoot the mark, or B, get it just right. And at this point, I feel like it's almost just right. Like, if I go any further, it's probably going to be going out of focus. But I say let's overshoot the mark on purpose. Yep, there we go. Now we're out of focus. Now, there may be a way for me to measure that and get it to do it automatically, but I find that every attempt at doing autofocus has been pretty unsuccessful with the current regime. So if we go here to full width half medium measurement, we want to draw a box around that, and it always does this. Oh, okay. Pain in my ass. So I want this box here, but I don't want this box to be like the size of the screen. So we got to tell it to do the autofocus based on a smaller box. So theoretically now, it should measure. So that's an interesting question. Is there a distance measure for one step that would be able to grasp like a nanometer? Probably not. I could be wrong. The stepper motor, you know, I mean, the steps could be measured though. I mean, I guess I could measure them manually. I think there's some videos of people doing that type of work. But, you know, I think it's pretty much 100 steps is like the backlash, like what you need for the backlash compensation. But it's because my particular system has a little bit more going on with that tube inside a tube thing. No pixels are visible. So part of the reason for that is because I don't think the motorized focusing assistant uses a stretched histogram. So I have to like crank it up a lot. Now, when I crank it up like this, I don't think it still sees a star. And so I find it very, okay, now it sees something, but it's like telling me to increase the exposure to see more. So what I might do is crank up the gain, and now we have a more visible star, but I don't see this as a effective, wait, what the hell did it just do? The whole thing just moved. I hope there's not a problem with the mechanism there. So we have a star in there. So what we might do is tell it to scan in the outward direction. So we literally click a button here that says scan. And it makes a score for each, you know, position, but it's got to take like a 1 second exposure for every, you know, one of them, I guess. So is it even doing it? Is it obeying my command? Oh, I see. It doesn't want to scan out. It only wants to scan in. So that's going to make things weird. So let's go out 400 steps. And then we're going to see if we can scan in. So now we're going to say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. And at this point, it can't see the star. So, I mean, that's part of it. You know, like, I probably should find a brighter star or something. And, you know, point is it should work on every filter. And I really don't want to be doing 2 second exposures or 4 second exposures when it's trying to capture like 3 focus samples each time. I just feel like that's maybe a bit too many long exposures for my taste. DJ, look up something called a ball screw. How dare you? Oh, you're telling me to look up a part. Okay, I thought you were calling me a screwball. Okay, jokes aside, that's very interesting. I don't know how this would fit into the optical system, but if I went for a complete design overhaul, I might finagle something rather insane using something like this. Huh. Like, I can see how if I was the one designing it from scratch, how this would work. Oh. It's really, it's like the gear backlash I can account for, although if something like this could eliminate it, that would be very interesting. And frankly, people using these on the 3D printers, for that alone, I'm interested in this, dude. Like, this might not even be useful on my telescope, but my God, this looks like a potential game changer because like I keep upgrading my Ender 3D printer, which looks similar to the one in the picture here. This looks like a knockoff of the Ender V3, but if like, in fact, this is a knockoff of the Ender V2. It looks like, but same concept. It's got like, wow, it's interesting. It's different right there. That's an interesting application for this because one thing I discovered was that I get some binding on the top of the Z-axis. So I think I actually removed these little holder things up here. Like there's these little things that hold the top of the threaded rod. I think I actually ended up removing one. Oh no, what I did was I think I kept it, but put a flexible coupler on the bottom. I did some stuff, you know, like I did put anti-backlash springs on the two vertical sides. I did do that. That was a big help. I'm trying to remember what I did. I think the flexible coupler was the main reason why I was able to get to the maximum height. Before that, the motor would bind or get stuck at the maximum height. But that's a different topic. But I'm just going to bookmark that because that is very interesting to me. And it'll serve as a reminder of this concept known as the ball screw. There might be something already made for telescopes out there. Oh, interesting. And I bet you somebody already has. Oh, that guy's got a carbon fiber refractor, that lucky bastard. Also, they might be building them into the focuses. So sometimes you can buy upgraded focuses for the telescope, and they can go for like $400 in this case. So what some people would do is they'll buy like a good one like this one, and then they'll attach the motor to that. So I already have a motor, and if I can be confident that the motor I have can be made to fit this properly, that's an option, you know, like that's actually not off the table as an option. Also, this one looks like it has an easier design for rotating the camera, maybe, if I'm looking at it correctly. I don't think I really am, but that could be for just putting a big eyepiece in there. And this is like a shitty, not a shitty, but like a medium grade telescope, I would say, but with a focuser that's phenomenal being attached to it. So what people might do is they buy the focus links, they call it, or apparently this $800 kit right here. And this one, you got like literally a belt drive like out in the open. And I'm not crazy about having an exposed belt drive, but there is a certain, like, I guess, elegance to like keeping it simple, because there is a simplicity to this. Like, I mean, you can manually override this if you needed to, or you can remove the belt relatively easily and manually override it. So I do find that interesting. Some of them will use like an electronic knob to send commands to the motor, but usually I'm doing it from my computer anyway. So most of the time, the name of the game is remote operation. What I really need is a motorized focuser for my guide scope. Actually, I don't really need it that badly, but it's like it would be a nice to have on my secondary scope. But that's a different topic. But anyway, once in a while, it could be fun or daunting to window shop for motorized focusing hardware. But maybe if I'm looking for like a new mechanism at some point, instead of designing my own or redesigning it, maybe that's what I should look for, is something that has a ball gear already, you know, there. But I'm gonna investigate that. Thanks, Pop Culture Mechanic. See, this motherfucker. So the you know, focusing assistant. So right now, we're not gonna mess with the, you know, motorized focusing assistant, but you can see like how that kind of works. So now we're going to just crank the focuser out and in again. Made for I mean. No, I'm kidding. Made for I mean. I know what you mean. I got a 2-day work week this week. You know what that means? It means that after I'm on Ryan Roger After Show, I could tune into Pop Culture Mechanic and not be tired from a work day. Because you know what? Pop Culture Mechanic is on Tuesday. And, I don't know. I might be tapping in some new mods here. So, you know, I made JLM a mod, cool dude, and then I had this Indian dude showing up. Which, I mean, I'm still thinking about making the kid a mod if he shows up again. But it just, I keep telling the kid, every time you show up on my channel and you say, make me a mod and stuff, it tickles my spidey sense. I tell the kid every time, and I would feel bad, but then it's like, no, I mean, you know, we have a right to be paranoid. That's every New Yorker's God-given right, as the mayor in Ghostbusters said. Like, I remember they were telling him, like, oh, you need to tell everyone to be nice to each other. And he's like, it's every New Yorker's God-given right to be mean to each other. We're gonna do a half-second exposure. Let's focus metaphorically and figuratively. I mean, literally. I mean, I think it's already in focus, but see, now we're overshooting the mark. So that's okay. We just wanted to prove it. Now, let's try some. We're only going to go out 200 steps. And what it does is it's going to overshoot the mark on purpose by an additional 300 steps. Then it's going to pull it back by 300 steps. So that's better than the previous setting. I had a setting before that would automatically pull it back by 300 steps when I went out. But that meant that I had to purposely overshoot the mark myself. So really, it's cool that they updated this version of SharpCap to have the option to overshoot, and that included the ability to instruct the software like what direction to come in at. And so now it knows like approach it on the negative instead of the positive. And so that does help pick up the slack, but it doesn't help me with the autofocus just yet. And I mean, there's many ways to skin a cat on that. I do have to re-explore that again, but I find it like it's a waste of clear seeing conditions. You know, when you have clear seeing conditions, you don't want to waste it on messing with your settings. You know, you want to like take pictures of cool stuff. All right, I overshot the mark again, and that's my bad. Okay, that's a pretty well-defined star. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to first overshoot the mark on purpose, just so we see it. Then we're going to say go out. We're going to go 150 steps out this time. We're not going to go all the way, because I have a feeling that 150 steps is like perfect. So it did the overshoot. It pulled it back in. Now I can crank it down to, say, maybe 25 steps on the course end. And then we can pull it in maybe 15 steps on the course end. And we can already see a secondary star to the right. So maybe if I go in 10 steps, and maybe we just pull it in. That looks like a nice round pinpoint star, right? So I'm afraid to pull it in any more than that. But let's see what the other stars look like, and we can decide maybe. And also, as the temperature lowers outside, it will shrink the telescope, which will help bring things into focus. So it's not actually absolutely necessary. So now here's the crowning achievement of recent history on this backyard computer. We got a star field. Are we aiming at the right object? I'm almost certain we're not. So how can we verify that? Well, we can use plate solving. And now the new SharpCap has a plate solver built into it that works so quickly that it already finished. And the only thing is that it didn't resync the mount. It just identified. So let's resync the mount. So we're going to do it again. Plate solve and resync. This time it might even automatically recenter it. Oh, okay. So see that? The reticle moved. Not only did the reticle move, not only did it move, but after it moved, the software, I think, automatically recentered it for me. So hopefully we have the right target. But I had some weird issues last week. So what I'm doing currently is I'm verifying it. So I take like a 15-second exposure with a special suffix on the file name, and I use another program to check the plate solving, because I can adjust for it if it's off, but I need to see it in order to do that. So we're going to do that right here. And today's date the 18th, and I'm going to check on the chat in a second. And we'll just click that, refresh this. Oh, that's not going to be a good picture for plate solving, because plate solver is going to be like, I don't see fucking constellations. I see streaks. So we'll give it about a few seconds to settle down. And David Glenn says, I just read the wiki on stepper motors. There we go. Stepper motors. Let me read. Okay, let me first. I'm going to put this window up so we can. Okay, good. We'll wait for that now to solve. Stepper motors. A step can encompass a fraction of a degree to several degrees of one revolution of the motor, depending on its function. I have been trying to equate 200 steps to a portion of the knob turn. Oh, I see. Okay, so I guess the question is, how many steps does it take to get 360 degrees spin? Just wondering about the minutiae. 200 steps equals 200 degrees on a knob revolution. Is that like guaranteed? I mean, maybe. I'm using the Pegasus Focus Cube 2. Shout out to Disney Sheepherder, who has just released a new video. By the way, I'm taking applications for moderators. Anybody here right now can be a moderator. Only reason I'm not just making people mods right now is because I don't want people to feel responsible. I don't want you to be like, like it's a chore, you know what I mean? But like, mainly 90% of the reason why I'd say it's nice to have mods is so that people can post links for themselves and for their friends. Disney Sheepherder's newest video. Shit, it's not a hyperlink. Oh, good, it is. Okay, good, I fixed it. I got you. Okay, so basically I need to find out, and I probably could Google that right now, or in a moment, but let's see. Okay, I got you, David Glenn. So let's see. We're going to click yes, and we're going to see where it really synchronizes to. And it wasn't that far off, so it actually might be fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to recenter it manually, so to speak. So now we're right dead on nuts on target, right? Now that we're dead on nuts on target, we're going to take a new picture. That's a new picture, not nude, new. But maybe we could take both. No, I'm kidding. It's terrible. Well, Wilton is kind of naked, I think. I don't even know if Wilton the Troll wears clothing. So that looks like we're in the center of that nebula. You know, I can say that much looks like it's holding true right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. We're going to browse the previously solved image. I don't need to do that, Disney Sheepherder, but I want to. Plus, I like friendly faces, you know? I mean, your friendly face, you know? Like, anybody who greets me or is remotely nice to me on YouTube is a friend. And frankly, you're a fellow brother in arms in the Snow Dub moderation team. I gotta see if I can get on that Discord server. So, like a week ago, I was on watching Mario Kart, and they did post a link to the Discord, but they were posting it for somebody else. So I felt stingy clicking on the link and joining that Discord server. It felt like, well, what if they don't want me to join it? You know, it's like that would just be creepy. And I didn't want to put anyone in a spot by saying, "Hey guys, can I join a Discord server?" And it'd be like, then they'll feel awkward if they say no, or maybe they'll want to say no, but they'll say yes anyway. It's like, you know. So this is an interesting target, by the way, guys. So we can see like a little bit of a skid mark in the middle of the screen right there, right? So maybe if we make some adjustments here. And what's going to really make this pop out is when I increase the exposure time. But there's definitely some shading on that target. So anyway, let's get this. So it's definitely in the center of the screen. So I'm not inclined to screw it up now, but we're going to screw it up real quick because I need to see this through. So how we screw it up on purpose is we stop the thingamabob. And what is the plate solver doing? Okay, plate solver is good. Plate solver said everything's okay. So we're going to do something one more time. I'm going to tell the application to plate solve and resynchronize. And when it does that, so that might, oh, they might have just fucked it up. Okay, so that's the dead center of the screen, right, fellas? But when I resynced it, it just put that shit off the fucking center. So what's crazy is it's not as bad as it was like last time I rebooted the computer like a few days ago, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, it would do something where the target would be like closer to the top left quadrant of the screen. This time, it's still in the middle. Whoops. It's still in the middle. It's just not in the middle that I would like it to be. Whoops. Okay, let me just cycle through that. Okay, so it's not in the middle. And I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, why can't it be in the center? Like, what the fudge is going on here? So let's try this again. Because, like, I had it working for like a day. It would work fully automatically. It would center the target. Like, it was perfect. And then, like, after it started giving me that weird issue, I had to go back to using this program, which is great. It works. But I have to fudge and, like, you know, open up the picture, click plate solve, wait like 30 seconds to a minute. Then I got to click yes. Then I got to click on the target over here again, and I got to press recenter. And that's like 3 extra button clicks at least. 3 extra button clicks at least for like something that like, you know, isn't, you know, that I could do in one click, because I know I've done it in one click. I did it in one click with this app, and when it worked for like 2 days, it was amazing. I was so happy. And now that it's not working right, I'm not totally unhappy, because like so many other things are working phenomenally. I mean, heck, even the plate solving, the computer doesn't take as long to solve anymore, regardless of how I do it. So just the processing, you know, alone on this AMD 8 core, which reminds me, what's the temperature of my CPU? Does anyone want to guess? It's like 40 degrees outside. Hey Google, what's the temperature outside? My CPU core temp is currently 90 degrees, and it's 44 degrees outside. So anyway, above my pay grade, but awesome to look at. Maybe it has performance anxiety now that there is a crowd watching. It's possible. 149 people. We have 149 people watching. Thank you guys. I appreciate your viewership. Wow, 149. I'm sure that's not in context to 149 people. I'm just reading that for fun. So jokes aside, it's still not centered. So at this point, we're going to take another picture of the target as it is right now, and we're going to center it manually because we have no choice until I can figure out why it's not doing it. But like, my God, it'd be so much easier to control this from my phone. Like, I could control it from my phone while, you know, like taking a shower or on the bus ride home from work tomorrow, for example, you know, like, that's something that apparently I could still do using this method here. I just rather do it in one click instead of like 4 clicks, especially when I'm on a bus trying not to get car sick. Oh, I see. 149. The temp on your PC is way off. So no, the 149 is, I think, so let me be accurate. I'm sorry, I should have been clear. So originally it was measuring Celsius. The software is currently showing us readings in Fahrenheit. So we're talking 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But when I had the overclocking enabled by accident, it did get to like 80 Celsius or 156 Fahrenheit. And obviously that was because it was overclocked. That's like, you're not supposed to overclock on like anything remotely resembling stock cooling. So clearly, this plate solver is doing it correctly. The other one's not. But the SharpCat plate solver is awesome because it's so fast. And I know some people tell me, in Google, reading the forums, they say the coordinate system is off. But I got the matching coordinate systems. But bottom line is, I'll do some investigation. It's not that important right now. I have a couple of ideas as to what it could be. So, yeah, bottom line is the temp on my PC is not 149 because it's 90 Fahrenheit. But it was running at 149, 156 like last week when it was overclocked, and it was just as cold outside. That thing was wild, man. I mean, like, I wasn't surprised once I realized it was overclocked. So, okay, target's in the center, And we can prove that because one, we could see it's in the center of the frame. So we're going to crank up the exposure time right now. But also, if you look at this picture, let me minimize it. I'll show you guys in 2 seconds. So first we're going to erase this. So, and that's another thing. I don't need to create the plate solving suffix if the software would do it automatically. So we're going to start with a 2-minute exposure so that you guys can see something in 2 minutes and I can order my dinner. So I hope I cleared that up on the temperature of my PC right there, my outdoor PC, the desktop that's literally in the backyard. Yeah, you know, but you were seeing some numbers there. You were seeing, maybe, I'm guessing here, but right here we got 75, 99. So it's saying that the minimum it detected in recent time is 75 Fahrenheit. I don't know when that started logging. Guess when I installed the app. And the max that was reported since I reset this application was 99. And the maximum is 194. But it seems to shut off the computer before 194. Unless it actually reached 194 at the time. I think it got like 160 before around that time it shut off automatically. But I definitely made a point of changing the settings to Fahrenheit. Or, you know, yeah, definitely made a point because I can't think that well in Celsius. Like, I kind of have a grasp. By the way, the whole time the motorized focuser has worked while keeping its app open. In the past, you couldn't keep the app open while using another program to control the focuser. So it is kind of nice that I can have them working together. You know, it's like, that can be helpful. And you can see this is where I put the backlash settings in. Actually, ooh. Okay, so last time I set up backlash, I didn't know why it wasn't working. I didn't turn it on. But that's okay because SharpCap had more settings that I think were better. There are offsets for the different filters, but I'm not going to use them in SharpCap inside the Pegasus software at this time. There's a whole slew of settings inside of SharpCap relating to the focuser, but we can't see the settings right now because we're not running it at this instant. 40C is the same as 40F. Okay, so the outdoor temperature is 40 degrees, but the temperature of the CPU core is like 90. So we're talking about the temperature of the thermal diode on the CPU, which, you know, okay, let's get a close look. We're going to turn off the crosshair. Oh, I made a mistake. Do you guys know what mistake I made? I'll give $50 to the first person to guess what mistake I made. Well, I'll tell you now. I did not use auto guiding. I made a mistake, did not turn on auto guiding. We got to turn that on because otherwise we're going to keep getting streaks. So what we do is we tell the secondary camera to, like, you know, go on a half-second exposure maybe. Then we scan and then we say, okay, lock. And now it's going to send corrective pulses to the mount. And that will eliminate these imperfections we're seeing here. So on next 2-minute exposure, we will see something. -40 and 40 Fahrenheit. Oh, I see. I'm reading that better now. -40C and -40 Fahrenheit. That makes more sense because I know 0 and 32 are the same in, you know, between Fahrenheit and Celsius. So that makes sense. Or between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Celsius 0C and, you know, 32 Fahrenheit. Now, my question is, when is it centigrade and when is it Celsius? Like, I always got bothered when people say, oh, it's 30 centigrade. It's like, well, when am I supposed to use centigrade instead of Celsius? But yeah, you know, we could get this target. We could get it in color by doing red, blue, and green filters. I bet you there's a lot of O3 ionized oxygen in there based on the blue. It doesn't tell me based on this. I'd have to actually Google it to see. But we're definitely picking up some red. I mean, you know, there's stars and stuff in there. We'd probably pick up a bit of blue. If we see blue, then we could definitely tune it to O3. And O3, which is right above my head, is good because it would block out a shit ton of light pollution, presumably, while getting the photons we want. So I think I'm going to order a poke bowl today because they're healthy and shit, you know, and you know, maybe it's a good idea to try to be healthy and stuff. What does 16 ounces of pineapple look like? Catch you later, Pop Culture Mechanic. Thanks for dropping by. And tune into Pop Culture Mechanic on Sunday and Tuesday, people. If you're interested in him talking about, I think he's talking about kaijus this month, if that's still his topic this week. All right, good. So we're going to adjust the histogram, but you can already see like something there. Oh, and you know what? Now we can crank it up to a 5-minute, because if we do a 5-minute exposure, I can enable pre-processing, which will help to subtract the amp glow and a few other things that afflict this endeavor. So we set it to 500-second exposure, and this is another thing I'm super happy about. On the previous setup, if I did a 5-minute exposure, the first picture would always take 10 minutes before I could even see the preview or anything. Now I click 5 minutes and it takes 5 minutes. It's amazing. So that's an interesting question, David. First, I want my question answered. 16 ounces of pineapple. What does that look like? No, not pineapple juice. Fucking Google. Don't autocomplete. How dare you? Okay, well, Walmart sells a 16-ounce pineapple container, and it looks kind of small. Don't think it's as big as the picture shows. I think they're lying, because that picture, it looks huge. But in this picture, it looks small. I mean, that's actually kind of significant there. You know what? Yeah. Hey, Google, do pineapples contain vitamin C? $432 milligrams. That doesn't sound like a lot. Maybe it is. So that's a good question, David Glenn. David Glenn asks, can you map for phosphorus content in stars? What are you trying to pull an Isaac Arthur on me? What are you, John Michael Goldier? You trying to say something? You trying to make me look for life? No, jokes aside, filter out everything but the part of the spectrum that phosphorus emits. If they make a phosphorus filter, I guess. Let's see if they have that. Let's see if they sell those. It's not going to be a standard filter, I would reckon. And they got different brands. So I usually do business with the Beta Planetarium brand, but like this is a hydrogen alpha filter. This is a Chinese company I almost did business with, Antilia U Venus, so it's probably a UV filter for imaging Venus. A moon and sky glow filter from Optilong. I have the Beta Planetarium moon and sky glow filter, and that's actually, believe it or not, double stacked. I have the moon and sky glow filter in front of all of the other filters at all times, because there's always going to be light pollution in New York, so I try to deal with that now. Let's see if we have any phos. So off the top of my head, I'm not aware of any such filters, but yet there are scientific papers about, like for example, phosphorus-rich stars with unusual abundances or challenging theoretical predictions. And they say that all chemical elements have been made by nucleosynthetic reactions in various kinds of stars and have been accumulated along our cosmic history. Among these elements are the origin of phosphorus is of extreme interest, you know, because of it is known to be essential for life such as what we know on Earth. However, current models of galactic chemical evolution predict the phosphorus we observe in our solar system. Here we report the discovery of 15 phosphorus-rich stars with unusual abundances of O, Mercury, I believe. No, Mg, I don't know what Mg is. Hg is Mercury. Silicon, Al, I guess aluminum, and Ce, which I don't know what Ce is. I don't know what element that is, but you get the drift here. Yo, Isaac Arthur is the man. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to splurge on the pineapples because that's healthy, right? I mean, yeah, let's do that. So, let's see here. And we'll give this person a $5 tip. And I got to, oh, I almost forgot. I got to put the right address in. Oh my God. Yo, you know how much a pain in the ass it is to like correct the order when you put the wrong address in. Oh my god. Like, it can be done, but it just makes things a little messy. All right. Oh my god, wait. They weren't going to include utensils. Yes, I want utensils and condiments. Yeah, you got to select that. It's like a New York law, I think, like, to be, like, environmentally green and shit. But, like, it's, like, a net annoyance when you forget to click that button or when you forget to verbally request utensils. I ordered Chinese food, and that place, they included the straws. They knew I want fucking straws, you know? And I appreciate that, because it's like, why would I not straws, why would I not want utensils? I mean, like, I bring them to work. Well, okay, I mean, I have utensils in the house, but I like to bring my utensils, you know, to work with me, so that, okay, 10 seconds until the next picture comes up. All right, double checking my order. It should be pretty quick. All right. Filter out everything but, oh yeah, sorry, I said about that part. So, to read, okay, first let's take a look at how we progressed now. So, we can cancel out a lot of the differences here. Usually I do it manually using some finagling, but technically I should be capturing flats. And flats are basically where you put like a white t-shirt or a white light in front of your mount, and you like literally capture the shadow at the edge of the frame, because then you can actually subtract the shadow. You can actually offset the shadow. So basically when you do your image processing, it knows that it has to equalize this against other parts of the frame, essentially. That's what happens. So now, I'm going to try to fix this Rumble chat here. But, yeah, I was kind of going for the Isaac Arthur thing, David says. Manganese or magnesium, it's magnesium. Yeah, so, I mean, like, not that I'm aware of, but, I mean, I noticed that when you look at, like, a picture of any space telescope, they are very, very thoroughly stacked with filters. I mean, like, you know, if we do, like, Hubble filter wheel, JWST filter wheel, Discover filter wheel. So the Earth polychromatic imaging camera is basically a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope in a satellite, and it like has the same optical design as a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope. Like you got you know, glass on the front, light goes in, hits the bowl-shaped mirror, bounces up, hits the secondary mirror, which obstructs the incoming light, shoots it down a hole in the mirror, and then you have your camera back here. But before it hits the camera, there's a filter wheel, or somewhere in the imaging train there are filter wheels. In fact, there's two of them, but that's like how they capture these pictures of Earth, like the one you're seeing here. And then flat earthers will say that that picture is obviously fake, or they'll try to look for some discrepancy, like, oh, the continents are not the correct size, and it's like, I don't know, do some experiments with cameras or something. Like, I don't know what to tell you anymore. I mean, I don't think anybody would bother to build this if they weren't sending it somewhere. And yeah, sure, some of them say that they're using balloons instead of satellites. So, okay, so this is the filter wheel. And what you're seeing here is two filter wheels, but each filter wheel has a blank slot. And so, you know, these might be red, blue, and green, and then luminance. Red, blue, and green, luminance, infrared, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, something else, something else. And so the idea is that if, let's say, this filter wheel is in front of this filter wheel, all they have to do is put this filter wheel on blank, and then they can use any filter from the filter wheel that is blocking the other one. And that's how they can double up. They can have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 filters instead of 5 filters across the entire, you know, thing. And the Hubble has one. James Webb Space Telescope has a couple of them, I think, for each camera. So here's one right here. You can even see the shape, the iconic shape of the JWST mirror on this particular camera. I mean, filter wheel. Like, it's got like a mask, I guess you could call it, on the side. And then this one's actually called a, it's like I think it blocks like the stars so they can look at exoplanets, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. And then this is might be the same filter wheel from the other side. This time you can see how the filters are mounted in these little holders. That's actually very similar to what I'm using now. And they have one square filter for some reason. And over here it tells you like the nanometers. So right here it says F90090W broadband filter centered at 90 micrometers. W wide field something imager. Clear empty slot. GR700XD. Grism with resolving power of up to 700 at 1.4 micrometers. Includes a cylindrical, less broadened spectral orders. Okay, I don't know what that means. NRM aperture mask. Net transmission 15%. And then let's see here. Broadband filter centered at 2 micrometers. Wide field imager. Broadband filter centered at 1.5 wide field. Medium band. Okay, so these don't mean much to me, but down here I'm going to guess we're going to have some meaningful filters here. Broadband filter. You know what? I think each of these micrometers corresponds to like a particular set of colors actually. So if we were looking at the EM spectrum, we could look at the nanometers on it and probably line up where each of these filters falls in on the spectrum. And essentially what they're saying is like it tunes into either red, blue, and green. But then if you have like, let's say red and you're doing hydrogen, that's a narrowband filter. So now you take red and you're zooming in, you're narrowing down on ruby red. It's like almost like tuning a radio. And you're blocking out everything but that sliver of ruby red. Whereas a broadband red filter is going to give you a bunch of red. But if you happen to have light pollution coming from a source that also shares that color red somewhere across that entire part of the red, you're going to pick up on that too, which is not as much of an issue in space, but it's a thing to be noted. Now, here's another filter wheel. Here, apparently, this is another filter wheel from the JWST. I guess this one's massive right here, and it has some weird angle. I want to see if I can find a Hubble filter wheel. And then you got these specialized kits they're selling to, like, I think, spy satellite companies or something. I don't know. These things like Moog. Oh, so it's the Ferengi word for mommy. Moogie! You know, you guys know Moogie from Star Trek. You know, Rom would always be like, Moogie! All right, I'm going to stop imitating Nog before I sound like a madman. High-speed instrument photometer. Is that like a fancy way of saying camera? I think they're saying like it measures the starlight or some shit. Anyway. Oh, shit! I'm sorry! My screen was not shared the whole fucking time. I don't know how long that was. I'm sorry. Let's do that again. From the top, since I wasn't sharing my screen. So this is one of the filter wheels from the James Webb Space Telescope. You can see how it's got the iconic mask on the corner. One of these days, I need to hire a mod or a producer who keeps me in check, who tells me when I'm not showing the screen or something. Anyway, so yeah, you can see like the distinctive shape. And then you got some mask filter. Here's another set of filters, but this is from the Discover satellite, which is the Deep Space Climate Observatory satellite. And one of them will have like measure CO2. Basically, this particular satellite is there to take pictures like this to measure atmospheric gases. And then a bunch of flat earthers lost their shit when they saw this animated GIF of the moon flying in front of the Earth. So there's an animated version of this, and they always bitch and moan how fake it looks. And I can rant about that in a moment if that really interests anybody. But the short answer is each filter is used on a black and white camera. And they're using the red, blue, and green filter on a black and white camera. And you can see right here the color fringing. And that's because, like, that picture with the green filter is taken 30 seconds apart from another filter. You can even see some purplish, blue, red here on the sides here. And really, it's just not designed to image the moon. So people say the moon looks mad, like, you know, Walt Disney-like. And it's like, the moon's not supposed to be in focus. Does the moon look like it's in focus? No, it's not in focus because it's not supposed to be in focus. This, the Earth itself, that's supposed to be in focus. And although I'm zooming into it beyond 100%, clearly this is basically in focus right here. But let me get back to the chat. I'm sorry for being all over the place. So anyway, if the light eventually hitting the CCDs can't the software do the filtering? Great question. I had this guy at work who was fucking adamant that the answer to that was yes, to the point that he's questioning how I'm doing my shit. He's not so much questioning it as he is telling me how to do the thing that I am doing that he's not doing. And the thing is that this guy at work, he pretends to be a scientist. Like, he literally, like, got, like, a fucking ingrown toenail. Oh, look at that. That's either a meteor or a shower. I've been getting a lot of these, like, lately. That could be a helicopter, a plane. Probably not a plane, but you can see there's, like, a white streak there. And there are ways to filter that out in software without going crazy. So we don't have to necessarily dispose of this one frame if we use the right processing technique. So to get back to the question, because it's a good question. Well, no. So the guy at work, his belief was that an image sensor could be made that would, like, cover the entire friggin' spectrum, right? So the idea is that you just take one picture and then you say, oh, I want to isolate ionized hydrogen, right? I mean, it's a good question. You don't have to be an expert to ask a good question, you know? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the EM spectrum for the beta filters, and I'll switch to my screen again. Because when you buy a filter from Beta Planetarium, they do a really great job of, like, giving you this really cool picture. I really need to go fish for all of these pictures here from the brand because it would make my life easier. But I got a couple of pictures here that we're gonna get up on that I'm getting up on screen right now, so that I can demonstrate something. All right, good. We got progress here, and I'm using ultra narrow band, so I can actually. Oh, good. Okay, so if we go to highpointscientific.com, we could buy these Hydrogen Alpha O3 and S2 filters. And there's this one picture here, which gives us the EM spectrum for each of the filters. So this represents the entire solar spectrum, this bar on the bottom, and essentially the visible light spectrum. And so you got, from right to left, you got red, green, blue. And if I use a black and white camera and I block out everything but red, and I then do the same to blue and green, I can then combine those colors together, like almost like layer them up, and you'll get the real color. So now why point this out? Well, now if we imagine a camera that could see the entire spectrum in one shot, and then digitally we could say, okay, only show me one of these things. That's something that you almost kind of do when you're taking pictures in a raw format, right? When you're using a digital raw and you open it up in iPhoto or Adobe Lightroom, you can do a lot of, like, post-processing adjustments with the raw without editing the original file. That's key. Like, you could export it and resave it, but generally you're modifying the raw by changing the properties on it, but doing it in such a way that those properties are stored in a text or a database. They're not stored in the file per se. So anyway, one of the things you'll see on this spectrum is like HG and Na. Na is sodium light, and one of the things that you do is sometimes when you buy a beta filter and you're doing red, let's say, or green, it'll intentionally block out the HG and the Na. And in fact, I should, let's see here. We're gonna do beta blue filter real quick, because this, I think, will illustrate what I'm trying to, illustrate. Pun intended. Just a nerdy schmuck, really. But the reason that you gave for using filters is excluding the city lights. Yeah, it makes some literal sense. Yeah. And it's also a way that you get, like, more accurate tuning. The other problem is that a color camera has what we call a Bayer matrix. And the problem with a Bayer matrix is that every color camera has the same grid as my black and white camera, except that in front of every pixel is a microscopic color filter. So every pixel is really made up of these 4 photo sites. And because the human eye has more sensitivity to green, they decided to design it where you have blue, green, and red. And that's all great and dandy when you're trying to take pictures of things on Earth. But in space, there's not that much green. So now, whenever a photon that's red lands on one of the green photo sites, you waste that photon. And so that's why I use a black and white camera. It gives me better control over the light pollution, but it also turns out that in theory, I can have a shorter exposure time in total because I'm getting, wasting fewer photons. But the reality is it's not as easy. It is easier to, use a color camera for a lot of people. It's just that if you get past the learning curve, I get more control. So anyway, this guy at work was claiming that there should be a camera that could see the entire spectrum, a magical sensor, as I would call it. And yeah, if that existed, that would be great. But the problem is that, like, if I overexpose the image, I can't deduct it. Like, once you hit the maximum, what they call well depth of the image sensor or photo sight, which I'm using terms from the older sensors, so to speak. But, like, you're not deducting what you overload, because all this thing is doing is every pixel, every photo sight is turning photons into electrons. And in like 8-bit color, let's just say each pixel can measure intensity from 0 to 255. 255 being white, 0 being black, somewhere in the middle would be gray. And if I'm at 255, you can't undo that. That's already been like loaded and detected. And if I had a sensor that didn't have any filter on it, I'd be picking up on everything, the light pollution. And there's another thing, like, what if a particular wavelength of light pollution corresponds to the element I'm looking at in deep space? I could tune in, even if I had a magical sensor that could tune into that. That sensor can't exclude one source from another source. If it's the same type of light from two different sources, it can't exclude it. So it blew my mind. But maybe there are image sensors that can do this for like $100,000. They certainly don't exist, in my realm. And apparently NASA's not using that technology either. So I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the person at work. That's why I'm like talking in this tone, like, this doesn't exist. But it is like I would love there to be like a image sensor that can capture a whole spectrum without filters, astronomy. I was gonna do a full spectrum without any filters. Filters are used mostly with mono cameras. Your Canon is filtered too, just contains 4 of them. Yeah, so he's describing the Bayer matrix. Full spectrum mod, triplet refractor, no IR cut. So yeah, he's doing full spectrum, but this guy probably lives in a place where he has darker skies. And big bloaty stars are definitely a consequence because he doesn't have an infrared cut filter. This guy modified his SLR basically. Because refractors are not designed to control that wavelength of light. Okay, whatever. I'm not even going to get into the weeds on that. It is an interesting question. I just don't know enough about CCDs. They seem like magic. So CCDs are a little bit different than CMOS sensors, but the gap between CMOS sensors and CCDs has closed up quite a bit. So I think I'm going to fix the Rumble chat off stream. Oh, no, wait. My order's not... Oh, good. My order's about to arrive. Good. So I'm going to go end the stream. And I'm going to leave the chat windows open just so that I can play with the settings. But we're going to end the stream. And I'm going to let this image probably red for a little bit. And then I'm going to switch to, blue and green, etc., etc. And we'll see if we get anything worth, processing. So that's the plan with this particular target. But as for you, my friends, who are watching right now, thank you for hanging out and tuning in tonight. This was just an impromptu, mix of experimenting and tweaking settings. And one thing I noticed was if I stream to Restream Studio, other people can join the stream, which is good. But if I want to play a video game, it's better for me to stream directly from OBS because I think the quality is a bit better that way. But that's a different topic. We're going to cover that in a tech stream perhaps. But yeah, CCD's bottom line is one thing is that I think that I cool my sensor down to -15 or -25 Celsius, and there comes a point where you don't get any benefit from bringing the temperature any lower. But if I lower the temperature of a CCD sensor lower than what I have now on my CMOS, I think you can have more gains. And essentially what you're doing is you're reducing the heat because the sensor has a tendency to turn heat into electrons, just like it would turn photons into electrons. So this is a way we cope with that. So anyway, with that being said, for anybody who tunes in on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. For everyone in the chat, including Disney Sheepherder, thanks for tuning in. And Pop Culture Mechanic, who will have a stream tomorrow morning and Tuesday evening. And with that being said, Yes, perfect for northern Minnesota. Also, you can use SLR cameras if it's cold outside, but during the summertime, SLR cameras pick up more noise. I know, right? Isn't this a cool shirt? I agree. I am proud to wear this shirt. I truly am. I got some work to do on a special puppet-like project soon, too, but that's a different topic. Anywho, and I love that I can keep floral green. Check this out. My green screen is showing in this square because I don't have a blue background at the moment, so that's how I keep this from turning gray. So anyway, all jokes aside, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. And for now, we shall end transmission on my mark.